Chidi had always been a dreamer. Born and raised in the bustling city of Port Harcourt, he had known hardship from a young age. His father had passed away when he was just 11, leaving his mother to raise him and his 2 younger siblings on her own. They lived in a small apartment in one of the less glamorous parts of the city, where the power was as unreliable as the jobs that kept food on their table. Despite the odds, Chidi had grown into a determined young man with a sharp mind and an unwavering belief in his potential. He had a knack for business and a vision that stretched far beyond the limits of his current circumstances. After finishing his secondary education, he couldn't afford university, but he refused to let that stop him. He took up odd jobs, saved every naira he could, and spent countless nights studying business strategies online, driven by the desire to make something of himself. It was during one of his side gigs, working as a server at a high-end restaurant, that he met Edeora. She was everything he wasn't: beautiful, sophisticated, and from a wealthy family that seemed worlds apart from his own. Edeora was the only daughter of Sir Rotemai, the managing director at a multinational oil and gas company, and she had been born into a life of privilege and comfort. Their first meeting was nothing short of a benefit. Chidi had served Edeora a bottle of wine that day. While Edeora was leaving the restaurant, being nervous, she left her purse hurriedly. But Chidi picked it from her table and kept it intact. Edeora visited the restaurant 2 days later, still worried about her money and credentials in the purse, but without the knowledge of where she had misplaced it. Chidi walked up to her and handed the purse back to Edeora. There was something warm and genuine that caught Edeora off guard. From that moment on, they started talking, first casually and then more frequently, until they realized they couldn't go a day without hearing each other's voice. Their relationship blossomed quickly, but it wasn't without its challenges. Chidi was painfully aware of the gap between their worlds, and he knew Edeora's family would not approve of him. But love, as they say, knows no boundaries. Edeora, too, was smitten with Chidi's humility, intelligence, and ambition. She admired his determination and saw in him the potential for greatness that he himself believed in. The first time Chidi met Edeora's parents, it was a disaster. Edeora had invited Chidi to meet her parents, Sir Rotemai, and his wife thought he was a towering man with a commanding presence, and his wife, Madame Florence, was every bit as imposing. Edeora had invited Chidi to their mansion for dinner, a meeting that had been long overdue. Chidi had been nervous, but he was determined to make a good impression. As they sat at the lavishly decorated table, Sir Rotemai wasted no time in getting to the point. "So, young man," he began, his tone steely. "What exactly do you do for a living?" Chidi cleared his throat, trying to keep his composure. "I'm a young college graduate, working on a few business ideas, sir. I'm currently in the process of starting my own company." Sir Rotemai raised an eyebrow. "Starting your own company, you say? And what exactly are you living on while you're starting this company?" Chidi hesitated, aware of how his answer would sound. "I'm working a few side jobs to support myself while I get things off the ground." The silence that followed was deafening. Madame Florence exchanged a look with her husband, and Chidi could feel the judgment in their eyes. He was a nobody in their world, a young man with big dreams but no money or connections to back them up. "I see," Sir Rotemai finally said, his voice cold. "And you think that's enough for my daughter? That you can provide her with the life she's accustomed to?" Chidi swallowed hard. "Sir, I love your daughter, and I'm working hard to build a future for us. I know I don't have much now, but I believe in my vision, and I'm determined to succeed." But Edeora's father wasn't convinced. "Love is not enough, young man. My daughter deserves stability, security, and a man who can provide for her." "I'm sorry, but I don't think you're that man." The rest of the dinner was awkward and tense, with Chidi doing his best to stay composed. When the evening finally ended, Edeora walked him to a distance, her eyes filled with tears. "They don't understand, Chidi," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But I do. I believe in you." Chidi took her hands in his heart heavy with both love and frustration. "I'm going to prove them wrong, Edeora. I'm going to show them that I'm worthy of you. Just keep believing in me." Over the next 2 years, Chidi threw himself into his work with a single-minded determination. He started his business, a tech startup focused on providing affordable software solutions for small businesses in Nigeria. It was a tough and grueling journey, filled with late nights, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But every time he thought about giving up, he remembered Edeora's words. "I believe in you." His breakthrough came when he secured a major contract with a multinational corporation that was looking to expand its operations in West Africa. Chidi's innovative solutions and relentless work ethic impressed the right people, and soon, his company was scaling new heights. Within a few short years, Chidi went from struggling to make ends meet to becoming one of the most successful young entrepreneurs in Nigeria. His company grew exponentially, attracting investors and clients from around the world. But through it all, Chidi never forgot what had driven him to succeed. He had wanted to prove to Edeora's family, and to himself, that he was worthy of her love. And now, as he stood on the verge of becoming a billionaire, he knew it was time to make good on that promise. One evening, as the sun set over Port Harcourt, casting a golden hue over the city, Chidi drove to Edeora's family home. This time, he was not the nervous young man they had dismissed 2 years ago. He was a man who had built an empire, who had turned his dreams into reality, and who was ready to claim the love that had inspired him to achieve it all. Edeora was waiting for him at the entrance, as he had informed her earlier about his visit. Her eyes wide with surprise as she saw the sleek black car pull up. Chidi stepped out, dressed in a tailored suit that spoke of his newfound success. But as he approached her, his heart was still the same, full of love, hope, and a little bit of fear. "Chidi," Edeora breathed, her voice filled with emotion. "You look amazing." He smiled, taking her hands in his. "It's all for you, Edeora. Everything I've done, everything I've become, you inspired them." Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized what this moment meant. "I always believed in you, Chidi. I never doubted you, not for a second." Chidi kissed her hands, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm here to ask for your hand, Edeora. But before I do, I need to speak with your parents. They need to know that I'm not the same man they met all those years ago." Edeora nodded, her heart pounding with both love and anticipation. She led him inside, where her parents were seated in the living room, still regal and imposing as ever. Sir Rotemai looked up as they entered, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Chidi," he said, his tone unreadable. "What brings you here?" Chidi stood tall, meeting the knight's gaze with quiet confidence. "Sir, Madam Florence, I'm here to ask for your blessing to marry your daughter." The room fell silent, the weight of the moment hanging in the air. Sir Rotemai studied Chidi for a long time before speaking. "You've come a long way, young man. I've heard about your success, how you've built your company from the ground up." Chidi nodded. "Yes, sir. But none of it would have been possible without Edeora. She's been my inspiration, my strength, and the reason I've worked so hard." Sir Rotemai exchanged a glance with his wife, who gave a small, approving nod. He turned back to Chidi, his expression softening. "You've proven yourself, Chidi. You've shown that you're not just a dreamer, but a doer. You have my blessing." Relief and joy flooded Chidi's heart as he turned to Edeora, who was now openly crying tears of happiness. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close as he whispered, "We did it, Edeora. We are going to be together, just like we always dreamed." And so, on the verge of marrying the love of his life, Chidi knew that he had not only fulfilled his promise but had also found the true meaning of success. It wasn't just about the money or the power, It was about love, perseverance, and proving that no matter where you start, with the right person by your side, you can achieve anything. As they prepared to embark on their new life together, Chidi and Edeora knew that their love had triumphed over every obstacle, and their future was as bright as the city's skyline at dusk.